get my 6. See if you can put a face, or at least a body, with these mysterious voices that I'm hearing emanating from these woods behind me. To the degree that I was just awakened from a wonderful nap. That's why I'm wearing my robe that my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, got me this past Valentine's Day. Check out the shirt though. Bigfoot don't care about your stick figure family. Brrr. So watch for him, her, it, or they. I thought I heard a tree knock. But I'm glad they woke me up. These voices emanating from the forest behind me. Because I guess I had to come up here and tell you a story. It's kind of what I do. And look at that, the sun's going down. I hope this doesn't interfere with my sleep tonight. You know, it's sunset, especially up here at higher elevations, where land meets sky and where field meets forest. I'm just inside the forest here. The field's right there. The veil grows very thin. The only thing that might make it thinner is if we had some sort of strange weather event, some water, some moisture, and of course, if it were All Hallows Eve. Oh, I can't wait. 7 months and 10 days. Spoiler alert, I'm going to have something very special for you this Halloween. Okay, so anyway, I don't think my late nap is going to interfere with my sleep tonight because of the fact that I am worn out. I am plumb tuckered out, as we'd say in Appalachistan, or I am completely cream crackered, as our friends across the pond over there in England would say, because I've been doing so much around here on top of my training. Did a 6-mile run this morning, supposed to be nice and easy pace, but it wasn't. I ran fast because I was excited. First day of spring, happy spring. Had a lot to do. Moved a bunch of trees, transferred our baby chicks. All followed by a tree knock. It appears as if we have an audience, and perhaps this audience is saying, come on, we watched you do what you were doing all day. Get on with the story. It's why we're here. As with the audience on the other side of the computer screen or the phone screen might be saying the same thing. I guess the point I was trying to make was that I'm tired from doing so much today. Oh, we transferred our chicks. The baby chicks, because they were getting to where their head was hitting the screen. So if you're not following the Hillbilly Gardening playlist to check out everything I'm doing with my Hillbilly Gardening stuff, you're missing out. The chicks are in there. Oh, but we made a video of that today and put it on my beautiful bride Dearly, a.k.a. Giggly Girl's channel. I got the whole sun in my hand. I got the whole wide sun in my hand. I can't stand the heat anymore. Oh, gosh, anyway, well, on her channel, it's called Life with Dearly. We made a video of putting them in their new home. You should go watch that. Speaking of her, if you've not eaten her delicious lumpia and peanuts and other stuff, get some from our Etsy store. The link's in the description box below. All right. Shameless self-promotion, voices in the woods, the sun trick. Oh, the story. But this is why my sleep won't be affected tonight despite that late nap. I'm worn out from doing all this stuff. Gardening. I've completed the Hillbilly Garden. It's all planted. Now I'm starting Miss Dearly's Princess Garden. It's going to be so beautiful by the time I'm done with it. But that's what makes me think of the story. Because it's about a certain plant that grows in the wild. And I think there's a glitch on my phone again. Yep. Remember that was here last week? I think something's wrong with my phone. Yep, it's definitely on the phone because it's still there. Aye, aye, matey. Who took my treasure? I got your treasure up here, brah. Okay. Listen, I apologize that I am among the simply entertained. It's not going away. I better just tell the story. And no, based upon what you're seeing here, I'm not talking about that kind of plant. It grows in the woods. It's legal here anyway, if I were, so na boo boo. I love Virginia. Ginseng. You know what ginseng is, right? And here's why I'm thinking of it. So I'm planting these gardens, doing all this stuff, and people have recommended that we plant ginseng, and it's really, oh gosh, can I do this while doing this? Ready? No, and I'm not doing that either. That's not legal here or anywhere, but no, that was just trying to, but people have recommended we should plant ginseng because, I looked it up. Current value for a pound of dry ginseng root, $600 right now. That's a lot. And a lot of folks have mentioned that they think one of the mysterious entities we've captured on film, actually, it was on a thumb drive a neighbor gave us. They think that was somebody who was ginseng hunting. I think it was something else, but I mean, just saying. I think it was this guy. We have eye shine. It's official. We have eye shine. Don't worry. You're only going to be subjected to about 12 or 15 more minutes of me figuring out a million different ways to play with. Well, I can't do that on social media. To play with that thing, whatever it is on my phone. Okay, how about this? Got my ears pierced. Actually, I've been pierced since college. It's actually a scary story. This is a defense mechanism. This humor thing, it's one of my defense mechanisms. When I get close to feeling an emotion, I make a joke. And I feel the emotion of fear in the retelling of this story about ginseng, okay? So everybody's like, plant ginseng, plant ginseng. I have one experience with ginseng, and it is creepy, and I think you'll agree. And as I tell this story, I'm not going to look at that spot on my phone. Stigmata! Okay. Jeez, Kevin, stop. All right. I was a kid. I was probably about my son's age, 10 years old, maybe 11 or 12. It would have been in the early 1980s, okay? Me and a buddy of mine, it was October, ironically. Oh, I can't wait till October. Well, I can't say that out loud. I would ruin the surprise. I was going to say I'm going to have to do something special with this story I'm going to tell you for October. Hint, hint. So anyway, we were out in the woods. We lived out in the woods. We were either on the, riverbank fishing or out in the woods hunting, hiking, camping. And we were out on top of a mountain, on a part of a mountain where we'd never really been before. We were very adventurous little kids, and you could do this. I mean, you could probably still do it now in certain areas. And we were raised in the wilderness, so always had a great sense of direction, knew where we were. But we ventured out past a point where we'd ever been on this one day. We came around the bend, and the leaves were changing. Everything was, in its autumn gold, autumn glory. You had the yellow, the red, the purple. It was gorgeous. But all of a sudden, there were like these red dots all over the ground, like all over the hillside. And so we start walking toward it. I'd never seen anything like it before or since. And it looked like berries as we got closer and closer. They were on these little plants about this high. And the plants were green. They kind of looked like, they cut Mayflowers, I think, come out in May. But then the plant came up and like there was this, looked like a berry pod on top of it. And they were red berries clustered, kind of like holly, but smaller. And I said to my buddy, what in the heck is this? I've never seen this. You think we can eat it? He said, eat at my, backside. We're a couple little hillbilly kids. He said, eat at my ass. That's ginseng, boy. We're going to dig that up and sell it. I'm like, ginseng? And of course I'd heard of it. I'm like, are you sure this is ginseng? He goes, damn right, I'm sure. And then I heard, dun, 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 dun. And he's going on, buy crackies, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to buy when I sell this ginseng. I'm getting me a brand new three-wheeler. Do you remember back then three-wheelers were still legal? Broke my wrist on one. Flipped it, actually broke my wrist thing on me. Flipped it over a hill. This is like the year before they were outlawed. I'm like, why not? But anyway, I'm like, shh, do you hear that music? He's like, no, I don't hear no music. Come on, let's start digging this up. And I'm like, we got to make sure this is ginseng first. If this is poison oak or poison ivy, and we're in here handling this stuff, we're going to, be in the hospital. And I hear, I'm like, did you hear that? That's music. I swear that's music. And he's like, I think I hear it too. And so we're hunkered down and we were listening, and the music, it starts getting louder. And then we hear lyrics. There must be some way to get out of here. Don't, said the joker to the thief. I'm like, holy crap, that's Jimi Hendrix. Let's get out of here. So we take off running through the woods to get out of there. But my buddy reaches down and grabs one of those plants and plucks it and takes it with us. We're running out of there. And we get, far enough away to where we feel safe. We stop. We don't hear, any music anymore. And I'm like, what the hell you think that was? And he said, this is proof in the pudding. I told you, it's ginseng. And we discovered a big old patch, and whoever's up there growing it heard us over there, and they're coming over there to run us off. He's just listening to his Walkman without earphones or whatever. Remember, it's like 1982. I had a Walkman. Everybody watching, 72% of you watching who are my age or older had Walkman. Is that the plural? If so, I had a Walkman because I only had one. Could they, if you took the thing out for the earphones, could you hear it? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, I don't hear them voices anymore either. They're sitting here listening intently. I'd better continue with the story. They might start screaming again. Okay. So anyway, we made it down into our little town. And I said, well, let's, take this plant by our fathers or whatever. They'd know if it's ginseng. And he says, are you crazy? My buddy, he was so much smarter than me. He knew so much more about life than me at like 11. I don't know how. He says, if we tell them we found this big patch of ginseng, they're going to get up there and dig it themselves. And I said, so that's fine. It'll help us, more many hands make for lighter work. He's like, no, they'll keep it. They ain't going to give us none of that money. They'll sell it. I was like, well, why wouldn't they give us some of the money? We found it. And he's like, do you got a mortgage payment? I'm like, what's that? He goes, exactly. Our parents got bills. They ain't going to give us that three-wheeler money. We're going to get it ourselves. I said, look, I'm not going to go up there and dig up anything unless I know exactly what it is. And I'm just not going up there and, grabbing a bunch of poison oak. So here's what we did. Listen, kiddos. For the 28% of you who are younger than me, once upon a time, we didn't have the internet. I know, right? Man. First experience with the internet. I was a 6th year senior in college. I think it's 1998. I was forced to take this technology class because there's this thing called the internet that they said we're going to need someday. I remember sitting there in that stupid class saying, this is stupid. Nobody's ever going to use this. It's my employer now. Man, you know how they say, look to see who it is you are not allowed to speak out against, and there you will find your master. I better not say anything about the internet. Got bills, brah. Bills. Speaking of bills. So my buddy's like, look, we're going to go to the library since there's no Google because it's only 1982. And we're going to get encyclopedias and we're going to look this thing up. We're going to look up ginseng and you're going to see that it's ginseng, you nincompoop, and we're going to go dig it all up. I was like, okay. So we went to the library and there were these like prehistoric wooden boxes called card catalogs. Okay, you had to open up the drawers and pull them out, and they were filled with these index cards that had these really strange numbers on them, called the Dewey Decimal System. Man, I guess we do speak code, don't we, old folks? We might not know Morse code, we might not know computer code, but we know the Dewey Decimal System, don't we? So we pulled that out, found out where the encyclopedia that said E, the Britannica, whatever it was. It wasn't Google. Went there, opened the book, went to ginseng and the G's. Bam! It's exactly what we'd found in the woods. So I said, all right, let's go get it. And that's what we did the next day, which, OMG, this has got to go. Well, I can't give it away. Can't ruin the October surprise. And this is not a presidential election year, so it's something even better than that. It was Halloween. Halloween. Okay, so here we go. Halloween, back up on that mountain, place we'd never been before. Digging this stuff up. Digging it up by the root. And at the time, I think it was worth like $200 a pound, you know, and this is like a million years ago. So we're digging this stuff up and, just laying it out. We're going to come around and bag it up later. We were trying to be quick because we'd heard that music the last time. But we're making our way up the hill, and we're looking around, making sure Jimi Hendrix doesn't come back around to try to catch us getting his ginseng patch. He probably grew something else. So anyway, we're digging the ginseng up, and all of a sudden I'm crawling up, and I fall through the ground, like literally, my 5th grade son's favorite word, literally. It was a trap, and I had triggered the trap. And when I fell to the ground, I had like a spike pierce me in the leg. I still got the scar. I'll show it to you. Check it out. Yeah, I got my pajama pants on. I told you I was taking a nap. See the scar? Look at that. See it? Can you see that? Or am I too hairy? I don't know. See that scar? See that? Well, I hope you saw it because I couldn't see in the camera from that angle. It didn't like go into my leg, but it like pierced the skin just deep enough to almost get muscle, but not. It was like... And he came out the other side. I landed on my side. I was about like 7 or 8 feet down in a hole. And then there were all these other like spears and sticks. I hope I didn't touch something that wasn't ginseng out here. I'm itching right there. So anyway, my buddy's like, what in tarnation? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in a hole. And there were all these other sticks that looked like spears, but they had been down there so long, apparently, they had like decayed. They were like rotted and they had fallen over. The one that got me, fortunately, was not new and fresh, or it would have done a lot more damage, but just enough to pierce the skin. So I'm down there in the hole, and he's down there looking at me, and we hear, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. How long, watchtower? So my buddy starts shoving leaves into the hole. He's like, Barry, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, shh, Jimi Hendrix is coming. Shh. And he's like, I'm going to go for help. Just don't move. So he takes off running, just sprinting out of there. And I'm down there in the hole, and I'm covered with leaves, and I'm trying not to leave. And I hear, Jimi Hendrix all along the watchtower playing. It gets louder and louder. It reaches a crescendo. And I'm thinking, man, whoever that is going to look down in this hole and see me. They're going to be able to tell there's a lump under these leaves. I'm just a goner. And just as I thought that was going to happen, the music started getting quieter, letting me know that, whoever was walking around with whatever was getting further away. So the music disappeared. And, when you're a kid, being down in a hole like that for an hour seems like half a day. It'd probably make for a better story if I just told you I was down there for half a day, but I wasn't. I was down there for like an hour. And help came. The kid went and he got his dad and one of his dad's buddies who was at his house. So they came up. They get me out of the hole. It's like they brought a rope because he had told him what was going on. And his dad and his buddies looking around, and they're like, wow, this is the biggest freaking ginseng patch I've ever seen in my life. Said, you guys must have found it. And we're like, found what? And they're like, oh, crazy Jim or crazy Bill or whatever, his ginseng patch. We're like, who's that? And they go, oh, he's just some crazy old Vietnam vet, and couldn't really make it in society. So they, he came up here, set up he was a hermit. He was a hermit squatting out in the middle of the national forest. And, but they said he made his money selling ginseng, and that, he would go into town after each harvest and after it was dried. And he was always just blaring his music, playing Jimi Hendrix and loud music coming out of the speakers of his car. And so while they're telling us this story, we're walking around through this ginseng patch, because what we were doing is the men, the adults said, look, that was definitely a tree knock, and it was close. Came from a different direction, so the last few minutes of this video is going to be filmed from a different angle. Came from straight back there. Yeah, I see that. Watch and see if it moves. So anyway, the adults had determined that we needed to go around and see if there were any more of these traps. They were like the types of Viet Cong set up for the USGIs during the Vietnam War, jungle warfare. And so we're going around, and they found a couple more they were able to trigger. But we saw where there were pits where they'd been triggered throughout the years. We found the skeletal remains of animals down there, like deer and whatnot. So we're walking, and we see what looked like a cabin built into the side of a rock cliff, a rock outcropping. I said, look, there's a camp right there. There's a cabin. And so we go to it. We go inside, and it was just the minimum bare necessities that someone would need to live in there. And we're looking around. It's like, wow, we found his cabin too. And I said, well, we better get out of here before he gets back. And they said, they laughed. They said, well, you don't got to worry about that. And we said, well, why not? And they said, because he's dead. Said everybody wondered why he stopped coming into town. It was probably 10 years or so ago. He'd come into town blasting his music and getting his money and telling people off. And then he just disappeared till he came back in the next time to sell his stuff. And of course he would buy what he needed, but he would go back into the woods for a year at a time. He stopped coming around. Everybody assumed he was dead, or maybe he went elsewhere, but a lot of folks in the community were always out looking for that ginseng patch. And my buddy and I found it. So we were looking around the cabin, and there was an old-timey tape recorder laying there on a nightstand beside the bed. You remember the kind? They took those big size D batteries you put in the back. You put a cassette tape in it. It was like stop, play, fast forward, rewind, record. Right, 1982. So I look down, I notice it, and I see there's a cassette tape in it. And so I just instinctively pushed play. And as I did, and the tape began to reel, we heard dum dum dum, dum dum dum, dum dum dum, dum dum dum, and one of the guys came over and he turned it off. One of the adult men turned it off. Said, I always hated Jimi Hendrix. Did we take all the ginseng? We took enough. Did we go back to get the rest? Hell to the no. We'll see you for more next time. For more next time. Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. Dun 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 dun.